Coach, obviously a critical victory for your group. What was most pleasing to you as a coach for their performance in such a high-stakes game?
You know, I really think they did a great job of just staying the course. The moments in which Atlanta made the runs, you know, we didn't panic. We got into our sets, organized ourselves in some ways, and then working on sitting down and getting stops at the right time. Those were big.
Jamahl, there's a lot of crooked numbers in Dell's stat line tonight, but I was wondering if there was one that was more impressive to you, or just overall his performance, what you thought?
His presence. I think there's not a stat on here that says what his presence was on that floor. When he plays with that level of dominance and aggression and focus and selflessness, he brings our whole team to a different level. And I thought that was great by him tonight. He did all those little things. Yes, there was the block shots, there was the verticalities, there was a couple jump balls, his ability to sit down and guard on a switch. Those are the things that, you know, we continue to need from him, and he did it without batting an eye. And that's exactly what's needed down this stretch of guys being able to step into the role and whatever's asking you in any moment and dominating in it.
You mentioned the team staying the course throughout the course of the game. Atlanta got it down to 6 in the fourth quarter. What does it say about this team and with everything they've been through this season to be able to hold on and extend that lead back out in the final moments of this game?
Well, just being able to focus on that moment and that moment alone, not what happened prior to and how they got it, but being able to settle ourselves down, get the stops, try to get some of the looks that we wanted. But then again, it got back to getting the stops at the right time to be able to get out and run with that level of focus. We have to keep that moving forward.
You guys talked a lot these past 4 days or so about the importance of this one. To get this win, what was the message to the team after a win like this?
You know, enjoy it right now because you took care of business. You have to do it again tomorrow. That's what's important. Take care of home court. Then you challenge them to be better. You challenge them to be better because you don't go 21 for 31 from the free throw line, shooting 67% and hope to give yourself a chance. You don't give up 31 second chance points and hope to give yourself a chance. Now, you get away with it tonight, but in the long haul, you have to be better. And that's what we challenge these guys to do, be better in these moments. Yes, it's a good win because of what's at stake, but the ability to be better in these moments is where we have to do.
Jamahl, how does the team replicate tonight's performance by KCP?
I really just think it's just finding the right open spots, defending the right way, continuing to look for him on the break. Those little consistent efforts are going to be very important as we move forward.
We saw Jalen behind the bench tonight. Just what did his presence mean to the team?
His energy. You know, you feel what he brings to the table, his energy with this group, his encouragement, his enthusiasm. We all understand what he does on the court, but also the energy that he brings, not just to our group on the bench, but to the crowd, because they understand exactly who he is and what he represents to this team.
We saw Paolo step up his scoring production in last year's playoffs. Obviously, this isn't a playoff game, but what does it say about him being able to kind of establish the tone and be that kind of driving force for the team in a game of this magnitude?
Well, that's what we've talked about. Mentioned it to him today, that his dominance and his presence when he steps on that floor, we follow his lead. And that's who he is, and he's not afraid of it, not shy of it, and that's what he's been doing, stepping into the moment and working his way to do whatever is necessary to help this team get the wins that are necessary.
You spoke a lot this year about wanting to hang your guys' hat on the defensive end, and that's the identity of your team. Does a performance like this kind of give you the confidence that you guys are rounding into peak shape at the right time?
I do. I really do. I think, you know, they're a tough guard. I mean, they do so many things well. You know, Trey is it's a tough cover each and every single night. And they got guys that put their head down. They drive to the basket. They got shooting all over the floor. So you've got to be disciplined in your execution, disciplined in your game plan focus. There was a couple times, you know, we fouled jump shooters knowing exactly what the game plan was. There's a lot of things we can clean up from this one, but it's a good lesson learned in a win, and that you have to look back at when we play them again and understand what we can improve on.
Jamahl, your team got a taste of kind of the emotion that Niang can bring to big games, and he seems to have that same role with Atlanta. How did your guys deal with some of his antics tonight?
Well, you said it. You know, our guys have seen that before. Obviously in the Cleveland series last year, understanding what he does, what he's capable of doing, the shots that he can make. That was what I was more concerned with necessarily than the other things. He had 9 points in that first half, and I think that's part of where we've got to focus in on the game plan, getting that job done first. Then we're more worried about the physicality and the whatever else is going on the court. He had 9 points in the first half that gave them an opportunity, and that's more important.
Thank you, Coach Mosley.
Thank you all.
This was obviously a critical game for your group. How big of a win was it tonight, and what pleased you the most about your team's performance in this victory?
Yeah, it was a good win. Help us out in the standings. And so, you know, we approached it like a playoff type of game. And just thought we played a good, you know, full 48 minutes of basketball.
What stood out to you about the way Wendell Carter played tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was a force tonight, just on the glass, on both sides of the ball. You know, he was huge for us, just giving us extra opportunities on offense and, you know, helping us close out possessions on defense.
You guys, it's obviously been kind of a winding season, but up 6 late in that fourth quarter, you guys put the hammer down to finish this game. What does it say about this team to be able to kind of stay the course and especially find that defensive identity late in such a critical game like this?
I mean, yeah, that's what's going to take to win these type of games is being able to put teams away, you know, with our defense and getting stops. And, you know, they didn't go away, but, you know, we made enough plays to, you know, get the dub tonight.
Paolo, when we chatted with you back in, I think, December about Kenny, he had kind of got off to a slow start, but you said that you guys weren't worried. You guys knew he had a hot streak coming. Now that he's been doing that essentially since the All-Star break, how is he kind of unlocking your offense to another level?
I mean, yeah, when he's knocking down shots, it opens everything up. And, you know, everyone just tells him to keep letting it fly. But, you know, he doesn't really need to hear that. You know, he's a 2-time champ. He's a vet. So he doesn't need really anybody giving him a pep talk. I think he knew, you know, all along that eventually the seal was going to break and his shots were going to start to fall.
You mentioned you kind of approached this game like it was a playoff game. You know, we saw what you did in last year's playoffs, obviously a long time ago at this point. But you set the tone in this game. I think you had 21 in the first half. What changes in your mind when you get to these kinds of pressure games and what you have to do and what you have to do for the team?
I wouldn't say it has anything to do with, you know, my offense. I think it's more of just a mindset of, you know, pumping confidence into everybody else and just reminding guys that, yes, it's a high-pressure game, but, you know, we have to approach it with a looseness and, you know, can't play tight. You know, these games are important, and everyone knows that, but at the same time, you want to go out and have fun and play the right way, and I think that's just what everybody did. You know, it was a very positive approach out there tonight.
Paolo, what was the formula to win and to dominate the third quarter of tonight's game?
I think it was just, you know, having our defense, you know, lead to opportunities on offense, getting stops, getting out and running, and you know, trying to hold them to one shot and not giving them too many second chance opportunities.
Thanks, Pete.
Sure.
Kenny, obviously this was a critical win for you guys. You know, how big of a win was it tonight, and what were you most pleased about your team's performance in such a critical game?
Yeah, this was a big win. But each game that's left for us is going to be a big game for us to continue to, you know, move in the right direction. But tonight, you know, we came out with an intensity that it's a playoff game for us, and we wanted to treat it like such. And I think we did a great job in just coming out with great energy, defending, and scoring the ball as well.
Kenny, you've now scored in double figures 11 of your last 17 games after sort of a slow start here in Orlando. Team brought you in to, you know, have performances like you've had recently. How does it feel just kind of getting that swag back and helping the team really, like, you know, hit its stride at the right time?
It feels great. You know, it definitely. I always feel great to see the ball go through the net at a good clip and being consistent at that as well. But yeah, you know, this is my 12th year in the league. You know, I've been through them shooting slumps before, many a times. And for me, it's just keeping myself confidence, keeping my head high, continuing to shoot the ball when I'm open. But shooting is not the only thing I can do. So I just focus more on defense when the ball is not going in, is like that.
Also played with some pretty elite teammates over the years. Just what have you seen? What has stood out to you from Paolo tonight and this maybe the last 3 weeks or so, his scoring?
For me, just his matureness as far as and his mentality as far as just seeing the defense, seeing what they come in the double for him, and then just making the play out of that. I think he's been doing a great job at that as far as all season, but tonight showed it. After All-Star break, just showing that he's really getting into film, trying to figure it out, and that's going to be great for us.
You kind of mentioned it for you individually, just kind of the struggle of this season. This team has had its ups and downs throughout the year. What does it say to be able to come into a game like this and play the way that you guys did, kind of staying the course the way that you did, and the way that you're closing this season to set yourselves up for the postseason?
I would say we talk about it a lot. Our best attribute is defending, and we do it at a high level. So I think that the main mindset for us is just, each game, we're going to defend first. We know the offense is going to come. We know we're going to get out in transition. We know we're going to have Paolo in front, it's creating for us. So, if we can defend, get stops, make it easier, get some easy baskets, easy in transition, I think, that goes a long way for us as far as, keeping the rhythm on that offensive end.
Kenny, I've got a couple questions actually following up on Paolo. You, I'm sure, had some pre-existing thoughts of what playing with him would be like before you signed here, but now that it's been nearly a full year, just kind of going off of Jason's question, just the overall experience of playing alongside him, what's maybe surprised you, or if anything, about that?
Just him putting the ball in the basket. I would say, man, he does it at a high level, all three levels, But for me, I thought I had a good mid-range shot, but his is just unreal. I feel like every time he shoots, it's going in from the midi. But like I said earlier, just got a full year on it. With him, just his growth, and as far as how he's matured on the court, as far as being the leader, getting his teammates involved, and just also keeping himself focused. I think that he's done a great job at that.
Just the version of Dell that you guys got tonight, how do you get that the rest of the year?
Just keep talking to him, keep telling him, keep showing him film. Every time he does something on the court, I'm always in his ear telling him, bro, keep doing that. We don't get these second chance points if you don't, get on the glass. And he was big for us tonight as far as that. Just to keep him that way, like I said, just keep telling him, keep the confidence up.
Kenny, last season, this team got a little taste of the playoffs, going 7 games with Cleveland. But with your pedigree, your experience going deep into postseasons, and even with some championships, just how important are these last couple of games going to be with your level of experience into this locker room, trying to get these guys ready for the playoffs potentially?
These last, the team tonight was important, but these last few games are very important. Like I said, we want to treat it as playoff atmosphere. Come in, play, how we would, in the playoffs. And I think, that's the mindset we got to have for the rest of this rest of the season, going into the play-in, into the playoffs. This is playoff basketball now.
Thanks, Kenny. Anything else?